This video is brought to you with the support of TrueFire. Learn, practice, and play with TrueFire. Hi, this is Keith Williams. Welcome to 5-Watt World, where we're interested in helping you get the most music from the least gear. I've always loved the simplicity of a Telecaster, a guitar that you can use for all kinds of music, and the one that started the solid body guitar game over 70 years ago. And as much as I love the look of a Whiteguard Tele, two of my favorite players, Justin Ostrander and Zach Childs, each use a Whiteguard Tele. So I asked them to come along and help describe the magic of Teles built between late 54 and early 59. The Whiteguard years. If you've always wondered about those vintage Telecasters without a black pickguard and what makes them so special, stay tuned because this is the 5-Watt World short history of the Whiteguard Fender Telecaster. To support what we do, grab a t-shirt, hoodie, or a 5-Watt World Barber Collaboration overdrive pedal. To become an even bigger part of 5-Watt World, sign up for the Friends of 5-Watt on Patreon. There's a friend level to suit any budget. And if you're a musician who's always wanted to have your own YouTube channel but didn't know where to start, buy my YouTube Mastery for Musicians course. It's all the things I wish I knew before I started. All the links are in the description. 1954 is generally thought of as the year of the first Stratocasters, but it's also the beginning of a parade of changes to the Telecaster. Of course, the first change, and the one that gives us the name of the era, the black Bakelite pickguard, was replaced by a single white ply guard. It was a simple yet dramatic change. The new white PVC plastic was less expensive, and it was easier to cut into guards. In addition, they'd gone with the material on the new Stratocasters, showing up well against the Strat's early two-tone sunburst. As in most everything, if Leo Fender could find an economy of scale, he generally went with it. A few months later, the original brass saddles in the bridge were replaced by steel. They did this to achieve a broader, twangier tone compared to the warmer tone of the previous brass saddles. Generally, it's believed that the steel saddles offer more high-end articulation and clarity, making them ideal for players seeking a brighter sound, particularly in country and rockabilly, where the twanginess helps the guitar cut through the band. Like most changes at Fender, this change was gradual, and many of the early Whiteguards shipped with brass saddles. They also changed the blonde finish, taking the butterscotch finish of the earliest guitars to a creamier color that evolved into an off-white color over time. So you'll find Whiteguards in a variety of shades from original butterscotch blonde to off-white. And they moved serial number, which had been previously stamped on the bridge plate, to the neck plate. In 1953, Fender had moved to a new style of fitted hardcase that would sit up on its side, what's affectionately referred to now as a poodle case. In mid-54, a new rectangular tweed case had begun to be used that gave the guitar much better protection. The rectangular tweed case with neck support and a center pocket was used for just under a year. After mid-55, the pocket was moved into the left lower corner, the place we're used to seeing it today. A plastic faux leather padded bag also became available in 54 as a lower cost alternative to a hard case. In 55, one of the biggest changes was put in place as the bridge pickup was modified to have staggered pole pieces in place of the flush pole pieces of the original broadcaster style pickup. The general belief is that the research around the Stratocaster pickups led to this modification to correct the volume differences between the strings that had been weighing on Leo's mind. This change took place from the summer of 55 on, and it didn't coincide with the move to a white pickguard back in 54 as many people believe. Zach Childs' own 58 Whiteguard Esquire tone has been an inspiration to me for years, so I asked Zach to walk us through his guitar and how he thinks the changes to the pickup and the bridge saddles affected the tone.
Hello friends, I'm Zach Childs, and Keith has asked that I talk to you about Whiteguard tone, specifically the switch from brass saddles to steel saddles and from a flat pole bridge pickup to a staggered pole bridge pickup. To help me, I have my January of 1957 Esquire. Now it has had a couple of modifications like this fancy pick guard. I guess they don't come with a cactus and your name on it. And of course, more importantly, a neck pickup. But it has the heart of the Whiteguard tone, which is the staggered pole bridge pickup and, of course, these wonderfully worn down original steel saddles. So let's talk about the pickup first, the bridge pickup. So Earlier, you had a flat pole bridge pickup, which means all of the magnets are even. They're, right up with the flat work. They're not sticking above it at all. And that was what was on all the Blackguards. In the mid-50s, they decided to raise the pole pieces of the D string and the G string. And this was done to create more evenness from string to string. And there was even some complaints on the Blackguard saying that the low E string was too loud. And I don't know if that had to do with amplifiers at that point, the string gauges, or what was going on. I don't really feel like Blackguards have a overly loud low E string. Regardless, Leo decided to make this modification, and this is what it did. One, by raising these pole pieces, it made the D and G string louder, which makes sense from a mechanical point of view because, of course, you're dealing with a pretty severe radius on a vintage Telecaster or Esquire. It's 7 1/4. And so these two strings are the furthest away from the pickup, no matter what. So it made sense to raise these two magnets. They also beveled them. And so what this did was, where this pickup has more crosstalk between the magnets. So because all of these are even with each other and none of them are beveled, you tend to get more crosstalk where this A pole is going to sense some of the low E string and some of the D string. And so with this pickup, you get more of a smeared kind of blended sound. And with the staggered pole pickup, you get more separation. You get more of a string to string separation, especially with these raised pole pieces that are also beveled. That kind of changes the way the magnet senses. So that's the difference. Then the saddles, of course, you go from brass to steel. And with steel, it's a harder material. So where the brass will kind of lend some compression to the sound and a little softness, the steel is going to have a really fast attack, and it's going to be a little bit of a harder sound. So between the two, when you take a staggered pole pickup and steel saddles, you're going to have a very assertive, twangy, kind of in-your-face sound, and it's going to be a little brighter. Back to you, Keith.
Starting in '54, there was an evolution of the rounded necks of the earliest guitars into a more pronounced V shape by 1955. And until early '58, these boat necks were the rule on both Telecaster and Stratocaster style guitars. There was a transition to flat-top knobs that were lighter than the early dome knobs during 1956. And the small barrel switch tip was replaced with a bigger top hat knob. So by the end of '56, most all the transitions from Blackguard to Whiteguard were done, and the guitars not only looked different, but they sounded quite different from the models of the same name in 1951. A great example of the transition of the Telecaster features can be seen in Justin Ostrander's '55 Whiteguard. Even the finish color feels transitional from the butterscotch to the whiter blonde of the later years. But let's let Justin walk us through his guitar.
Good evening, friends of the 5 Watt World channel. My name's Justin Ostrander. I play guitar on songs in Nashville. I have a tiny baby YouTube channel as well. And if you know me, you've probably heard that intro before, the playing guitar on songs in Nashville part. One of the guitars that I play on these songs, almost all the time, is this '55 Tele. I bought this a few years ago off of our dear friend Tom Bukovac. I went to his house to pick up a '62 Guild Starfire 3, which was fantastic. But, I got that guitar, Venmo'd him the money, and he goes, hey, come check this out. And so he handed me the case that this was in. The case is open on the couch behind me. And he's like, I'm getting rid of this too. And he let me take it for a while, and I played it and fell in love with it. And I've had several Telecasters in my life and career. Fenders, Danocasters, Jeff Sen guitars, Tom Anderson's, Yamahas, Japanese-made Fenders, custom shop Fenders, and a Greenwich Village custom in there somewhere. And when I first plugged this in and played it, I was like, wow, whatever it is, we have not figured out completely. That's not to say that there aren't a lot of old dud guitars, you know, but this one just is really great. It's about 6.5 pounds. Might even be less than that. The first session I took it to, Steve Henson was playing pedal steel. He's a great musician, been around Nashville, I don't know how long. He's kind of an institution all by himself. I handed it to him. He's got a Tele from, I think it's a 55 as well, or maybe a 57, I'm not sure. Fellow Whiteguarder, right? I hand him this guitar because he wanted to check it out, and he goes, "That's lighter than one of Martha White's biscuits." So it became known as the Biscuit. You might notice that this isn't the typical color of a Whiteguard Tele. That's because whoever bought it in 55 didn't like that they changed the body color, so they had it sprayed in the older yellow, butterscotch yellow or trans yellow. I don't know what the actual color's called. But I thought the name The Biscuit fit so well because a biscuit is all light and fluffy and white on the inside, and then it's kind of yellow and baked and golden on the outside. Well, this is yellow over white, you know, and it's light as a feather, and it sounds like $1 million, so it's the Biscuit. Now, the date on this guitar, the body and the neck are both dated February of 55, okay? And because it's so early, it's a bit of a transitional guitar. It has the steel saddles of your typical Whiteguard, but it's also got a flat pole bridge pickup. And it's my understanding that whoever was putting it together just sort of reached into the basket of bridge pickups or whatever, or onto the shelf of bridge pickups, and they just grabbed the next one, and it happened to be an older flat pole pickup that was sitting there. So it's also got the domed knobs. I can't remember if somebody told me that these are older or not. It might just be the bridge pickup that's the sort of leftover from the Blackguard era. But the guitar's definitely got a Whiteguard neck on it. This is not a baseball bat. It's a good medium V. And I didn't think that I would like medium V necks, but it's so comfortable. I think part of it is the refret. Before Tom sold it to me, he had Greg at Groom Guitars do an amazing refret on it. This has the 7¼ inch radius, and he took it and radiused the frets, and so now I can play bends high up without the note choking out. You know, with these real small radius guitars, the more you bend a note, you push the string into another fret, and it's not the fret that you're playing, so it chokes the note out really bad, especially higher up. But this guitar doesn't have that problem. And I love it to death. The notes seem eager to jump off of it. That's the best way I can describe this guitar. So I've got repro tuners on it. The originals are in the case. Original finish and everything on the neck. It's a body only refin, and as far as I know, everything else is original to the guitar. Old steel saddles, they're not intonated, so I got to be careful on sessions. If I'm playing a part in this spot on the neck, I'll tune to that spot, not just tune the open strings. If I'm playing something up high, I'll tune. I kind of have to tune to the position I'm in. I'm thinking of putting some other saddles on it, so we'll see. But fantastic guitar. Love the Whiteguard. So yeah, there you go.
Business was booming at Fender as amplified music continued to gain in popularity. At the 1955 NAMM show, Don Randall, the head of marketing and distribution, was quoted as saying, "Fender is having a hard time keeping up with demand for electric guitars." This growing demand for instruments was pushed by the birth of rock and roll. Both professional and amateur players were switching to electric instruments, and they more often than not chose Fender. A 16-year-old James Burton had recorded with Dale Hawkins, having a hit with Suzy Q. Burton would quickly become a Telecaster cult hero that further pushed Telecaster sales forward. Along with new products being added each year, compared to the production levels of the earliest years, they had to evolve to meet the new demand. In 1954, an industrial engineer named Forrest White was hired by Leo to address this critical issue. He was officially appointed plant manager in 55, and White set out to completely change the manufacturing process of the Fender factory in Fullerton. Rock and Roll also led Fender to begin offering custom colors at a 5% upcharge at the time of ordering. But few people chose this option, and factory custom color tellies are extremely rare. In 57 and 58, a few tellies were built with a two-tone finish that they'd been using on the Stratocaster and Precision basses. Although this was a standard Fender finish, it was a custom color on a Telecaster. In 1958, necks gradually changed to a flatter cross-section. By this time, Forrest White's influence in manufacturing changes could really be seen, and fewer tooling marks could be found on the instruments compared to earlier years. In the later 50s, Fender also developed their merchandising, including store banners, window streamers, and photos of artist endorsers, along with glossier catalogs. An interesting side note in the transition to Whiteguards is that in the 1957 catalog, it shows Telecasters with black pickguards. They hadn't reverted to black pickguards, but in the catalog, the Fender's marketing guys simply thought that the blonde tellies with a white guard didn't show up as well in the black and white photos. So they pulled out some old black pickguards, put them on some current production guitars for the photo shoot. Confusingly, the text in the catalog made it clear that the guitars did come with a white pickguard, despite the photograph. In 1959, Fender built 4 new buildings at the Fullerton plant, bringing the production to approximately 54,000 square feet. The company's staff had grown to around 100 employees by the end of the decade. That spring, Leo Fender promoted Forrest White to vice president and general manager, and George Fullerton became vice president in charge of production. These two moves bookended Fender's move to being a much higher production company, just in time for the 60s. I reached out to TrueFire to be my sponsor because I've used them for years. Appropriately enough, I'm currently having fun going through Andy Wood's Modern Telecaster Shred course. With over 2 million users worldwide, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced level player, TrueFire has lessons to enhance and inspire your playing. Get 35% off courses using the promo code 5watt35, or like I do, sign up for the All Access Pass to use the entire TrueFire catalog. I really like TrueFire, and I think if you give them a shot, you'll like them too. Sign up using the link in the description to support 5 Watt World and get some great lessons at the same time. I'd like to thank TrueFire for their support in making this video. 1958 saw the experiment of the top loader bridge as well. This probably saved time and money at the factory by not having to drill the body nor install the back ferrules. This was similar to what had been used on the Precision bass. But it wasn't popular with guitarists and dealers, and they moved back to the original string-through design before the end of the year. 1959 was the next big turning point in the history of the Telecaster, with the move away from the one-piece maple neck to be replaced by the new two-piece neck, a maple neck with the rosewood fretboard. And early in 59, Fender moved to a 3-layer white-black-white pickguard. These 3 things can be seen as the end of the Whiteguard era. In general, when we say Whiteguard, we're talking about a Telecaster built between 54 and 59. And the magical 50s are the era that we look to in classic Telecasters and are the ones most reissued by Fender. Interesting to me, it's that the 52 Tele, the brass saddles and broadcaster-style pickup guitar, has been the one most copied in the reissue programs from the start until those of today. As I pulled together the research for this video, I realized that I had a great pair of videos that the guys at Carter had done last summer. They had Guthrie Trapp come into the store, and they filmed him playing both a 51 and a 58 Telecaster. Same day, same amp, same amazing player. See if you can hear the Whiteguard changes made to the tone of the guitars over time. In addition to Fender most often issuing Blackguard replicas, I'd say that the Blackguards are what most players try to recreate in their own parts caster builds. I got to talking to my buddy David Barber about how he'd approach a Whiteguard parts caster build, and that led to my own Whiteguard parts caster. You can see David playing his highly modified Paisley Telecaster with an added Whiteguard, well, parchment, of course, right here. So where to start my own? A replica build project can take a couple of different roads, what I think of as a looker or a player. Hopefully, as it's your personal guitar, some blend of these two that fits your needs and personality is where you'll settle. I define a looker as trying to nail every bit of how the original guitar looked. A period-correct color finish, the right style of bridge, in this case a maple neck, one piece preferred, and of course a white pickguard. I used to serve on a small-town historic preservation commission, and we'd rule on what was historically correct looking for storefronts. I always felt that this was sort of a Disney version of historical, as it was just the outside, the cosmetics that had to look right. To a looker, it emphasized this approach. A player build would focus on achieving the sound and playing experience of the original. So things like the neck shape, choosing steel saddles, and the correct bridge pickup, for example. And both schools of thought might go so far as to choose a nitro finish for the body so that it looks the part and allows the body to resonate like an original Whiteguard. To me, the neck always seems to be the heart of a Fender-style guitar, so I started with that. David and I kicked around the necks that Fender currently has available, along with the models that have the right neck shape out in the marketplace right now. I've always really liked a soft V-shaped neck like you'd find on an Eric Clapton or an Eric Johnson signature Stratocaster, both solid late 50s style necks. David's favorite Telecaster is that Paisley, and he said that it has a soft V. As much as I'm taken with that silver sparkle, I'm also really drawn to single pickup design, so I started looking at the Paisley Esquires as the basis for the build-out. It's interesting that the Ensenada-built Paisley models are road-worn, so I wasn't worrying about any little nicks or scratches. I was really looking for the least wear on the frets, etc. I quickly found one and ordered it up, and in a couple of days I had it in my hands. As I mentioned, I chose the Paisley Esquire because it has a soft V neck that's based on one of Brad Paisley's favorite 63 Telecasters. From 54 to 58, the V in the necks became more pronounced, and then less again as you go into the early 60s. So I like to think that this neck shape isn't a million miles away from, say, a 56. It feels substantial, but not big, if you know what I mean. I dealt with the looker, or cosmetics, first. I jumped on Reverb and ordered up a Fender-branded 5-screw white pickguard to replace the 7-screw Paisley guard that came on it. A few followers on Instagram that saw the guitar have encouraged me to go ahead and pull the guard and age it a little bit, and that's something I might do later on. Of course, the finish color is so wrong. More late 60s Buck Owens than Whiteguard blonde. But in the right light, the metal flake doesn't really show, and it can look like a broadcaster prototype black on pine finish. I really like that stealth metal flake. The finish is a nice check nitro as well. It really needs to be for the road-worn finish. The relicking is a little disc sander heavy for me, but it makes sense at this price point. The light relicking on the neck also feels great. I had Randy at Syracuse Guitars clean up the mid-winter fret sprout, and now the neck feels more broken in than ever. The bodywood is a major departure from 50s spec. Instead of light ash, it's mostly Polonia, sandwiched between two layers of spruce. Paisley says that this combination responds much like an old, lightweight swamp ash body. He's certainly handled enough 50s Telecasters to know. I've been very vocal about my love of lightweight guitars, and this guitar weighs in at just 5 pounds and 12 ounces with a very light and resonant body. All night comfortable. The guitar came with compensated brass saddles, which are very nice at this price, but not what I needed to recreate classic Whiteguard tones. So of course I turned to Zach Childs for where I should buy my steel bridge saddles. He didn't hesitate and sent me the link for Philadelphia Luthier Tools and Supply for a set of compensated steel saddles. A quick online order and I had them at the house in upstate New York in 2 days, with a nice note from the owners. Pickups were next. The Paisley Esquire has a specially designed Duncan neck pickup hidden under the Esquire guard. I love the look of an Esquire, so clean and simple, so I'm going to leave that. In the promo videos, Brad makes a case for the pickup being far enough from the strings that it still works like an Esquire, giving it just that little bit extra punch for not having those neck pickup magnets affecting the strings. Since it was Brad Paisley's Play album that shocked me out of my 20-year jazz coma, I'm going to go with Brad on this. After the change to the raised pole pieces in 55, the main pickup change into the early 60s was that the pickups became slightly hotter. So though this one looks the part now, I'll no doubt try some other pickups in the guitar to find the right balance in the future. Zach recommended either the Duncan Antiquity 55 or the Ron Ellis 60T bridge. David is a big fan of Fender's Custom Shop Texas Special pickups for a Telecaster, so I might start there as well. Finally, as I've been selling off some guitars lately, including my Made in Japan Telecaster to make space for this one in and one out, when the dust cleared I realized I'd be one Telecaster case short. So I ordered one of the short-lived 54 style poodle cases for the guitar to live in. It'll offer protection, be lighter than a full rectangular size case, and sit up on its side. That last little looker detail when showing up with my Partscaster Whiteguard. And with those changes, I feel like I've put together a great guitar that gives me many of the looks, feel, and tones of a Whiteguard for a little over $1,000. As current prices for late 50s Telecasters are currently equal to that of a nice car, this seems like a good deal. But you know, when I say it that way, maybe an original 55 isn't priced so badly. I mean, a car would wear out, but an original Whiteguard will likely always be worth at least what it cost. And you have the pleasure of its company in the meantime. First, I need to thank Justin Ostrander for playing us in and out of the video, and for sharing the story of his 55. He's playing over backing tracks available in his Practice with the Pros course series. There's a link in the description. Check that and Justin's YouTube channel for more. I need to thank my buddy Zach Childs from the YouTube channel Ask Zach. I'm smart enough to know where to go for the whole story, and when it comes to Telecasters, that's Zach Childs. Go to his YouTube channel for more of the full Telecaster story. I'd like to thank my good friend David Barber for his help speccing out the Whiteguard Partscaster build and for pointing me at the road-worn Paisley guitars as a possible platform. He owns a number of very nice Telecasters, but that modded Paisley is his favorite. I want to thank Carter Vintage for sharing the great playing examples on original Whiteguard Teles that I could only have found at Carter Vintage. I want to thank everyone that stopped by the online store and grabbed some merch or a 5-Watt World Barber Electronics Collaboration overdrive. You keep the channel going. And in particular, I need to thank the Friends of 5-Watt on Patreon. It's the guitar community I've always wanted. You're all 5-Watt World. I just make the videos. If you're interested in starting your own YouTube channel, don't forget to check out my YouTube Mastery for Musicians course. If you enjoyed this short history of the Whiteguard Telecaster, hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that too. If you like this video, you'd no doubt enjoy my short history video on the Blackguard Telecasters that came before the Whiteguards, or my recently revised full history of the Telecaster. Thanks for hanging with me until the end. Until next time, I'm Keith Williams. Thanks for being a part of the 5-Watt World.